There's like trees, power lines. There's no power in the whole county. There's no power. It's really hard for everyone.
After Hurricane Helene made landfall just days ago, the death toll continues to rise and the damage is leaving many in need of help. Thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm John Adams. Volunteers from across the country and here in Oregon have gone to help those affected by Helene. Our Helene Stevens spoke with one of those volunteers today to learn more. Helene?
John, that's right. So as of today, there are 17 Red Cross volunteers from Oregon and Southwest Washington that have been deployed to some of those states hit by Helene. Tonight, I spoke with one volunteer who was sent to Georgia, who shared with me that what he's seen in the last couple of days that he's been on the ground trying to help others who have lost everything.
They went through some terror, you know. It's really hard for everyone, for all the people from here, yeah.
Juan Rosas left Oregon Friday night to go to Georgia as a Red Cross volunteer, all to help victims of Hurricane Helene.
The stories that they've told me is that the wind was picking up their houses and slamming it back down like it was going to take it away.
So far, over 80 people have died from the impact of Helene, which hit Florida's Big Bend region as a Category 4 hurricane Thursday night. It also impacted many other states, including Georgia and the Carolinas. The American Red Cross says there's around 1,400 volunteers setting up shelters and staffing impacted areas, with 17 of them coming from Oregon and Southwest Washington.
They'll take bottled waters, they'll take food, they'll take cleanup kits, and they'll just go there and assess the damage to see how we can help.
Rebecca Marshall with the Red Cross says volunteers also help people with reunification as people are struggling to find one another in the chaos paired with the lack of electricity. Rosas says on Sunday, he and other volunteers helped a couple hundred people who were in need of essentials.
The 200 people that I think we fed came and got supplies, got food for home. And mind you, they don't have no power, they don't have no water. So we've been trying to give them whatever, you know, comes in, we give to the people that are here.
Another thing that Marshall says is needed now is blood.
We know that there's blood drives that are being canceled all over those 5 states. 1,500 units of blood have not been collected in the past 2 or 3 days just because of the storm. So that's blood that's needed.
Marshall also told me that along with blood, financial donations are also critical to help the Red Cross continue their mission so they can keep working to help others when disasters like this strike. John?
Our Helene Stevens tonight. Thank you, Helene. Well, in the regions impacted by Helene, there's a frantic ongoing search to find loved ones. And while many others are desperately waiting for help, in some cities like Asheville, North Carolina, streets are still underwater with homes and buildings surrounded. In Unicoi County, Tennessee, one doctor returned to the hospital where more than 60 patients were airlifted in a dramatic rescue.
We're literally flowing rapids, probably 6 inches to a half a foot to a foot high, flowing within the building. And every team member, even with that, we're pushing those gurneys to get them out through the doors, to get them back into an eddy behind the hospital. And that's where we use ladders from the fire truck to get on the roof.
Back in Asheville, officials report at least 30 people there have been killed due to the storm. Supplies are being airlifted into the region. And back on the Oregon coast, the U.S. Coast Guard was called to help rescue a stranded surfer yesterday. Newport County reached out after the surfer was stuck on some rocks and couldn't make it back to shore. A viewer sent us this video of the Coast Guard using a helicopter to bring them back on land, safe and unhurt. Well, turning now to our weather, as we inch closer to October, you might want to grab that jacket as you head out the door tomorrow morning. We're going to be seeing some cooler mornings ahead, but the good news is we're going to see some sunny and warm conditions in the afternoons over the next few days. Let's bring in meteorologist Joe Ranieri with how warm we're going to be getting. Joe?
It's such a wonderful time of the year, John. We got good weather, on track. We have basketball that's right around the corner. Of course, baseball as well. And of course, we've had football for a while, but my point being, it's a great time to enjoy the outdoors as well. And we're going to be seeing a nice stretch of sunshine and really not much in terms of wet conditions over the next several days. So right now from our Wells Fargo tower camera, we're picking up a temperature of 57 degrees with clear skies. Tomorrow morning, it's going to be clear and crisp. So John just said, make sure you grab the jacket. You'll need it as you head out the door, but you can shred it heading into the early part of the afternoon. By midday, today, we'll be at 67 degrees. I'm going with the daytime high of 76. Sunrise tomorrow at 7:08. So get ready for some crisp mornings, not just in the metro area, but there's actually a freeze watch in place throughout parts of the high desert and into the east side of the state. Lots of sunshine all week long. No major rainmaker on the way. And right now we're looking at temperatures right around the upper 40s to low 50s throughout much of the metro area. And over in Bend right now, temperature of 43. Some locations east of the Cascades will be waking up to temperatures right around the low to mid 30s. I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes.
All right, Joe, thank you. Well, an update now to a deadly shooting in the Linz neighborhood. Portland police have identified the victim as 19-year-old Najeel Brown from Texas. A medical examiner confirmed he died by gunshot wound. The shooting happened just before 1 Saturday morning at the Scott Mountain Apartments. Officers arrived to find Brown's body in the common area. No one has been arrested. Detectives ask any witnesses who have not yet spoken to police to reach out. Portland police also continue to investigate a shooting in the north side of town that left one person hurt. Just before midnight, officers were called to Whitaker Road just off of I-5. They arrived to find a man with a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital with a serious injury, but is expected to survive. No one has been arrested in this case. The Boeing machinist strike is wrapping up day 17, which is costing the company millions of dollars. The machinists and the airplane maker are both standing their ground. Last Monday, Boeing put out its, quote, best and final offer and gave a Friday deadline to vote. That included a 30% wage increase over 4 years, reinstated performance bonuses, and a ratification bonus.
This is a great offer, and I'm hoping that people will take the time to digest it, understand it, and vote the most appropriate way for them.
Please, blow smoke up somebody else's rear end,
Union leadership said they weren't going to vote on that offer. Machinists want a 40% increase and for Boeing to bring back pensions. After Friday's round of mediation, the union says talks broke off with no more dates scheduled to negotiate at this time. Multnomah Falls will now be a little bit more difficult to reach due to highway repairs on the historic Columbia River Highway. Our Sydney Dorner spoke with visitors there to hear their thoughts.
This closure will last until Memorial Day 2025, during a time when foot traffic usually slows down. People I spoke with say highway repairs are a top priority, but this change could be confusing. Starting October 1st, visitors coming to Multnomah Falls will face limited access as sections of the historic Columbia Highway close for repairs. Hiker Jacqueline comes here pretty often, saying this is a hot spot for tourists who aren't really familiar with the area.
It's probably going to confuse people, specifically visitors that are doing the historic highway, just to see all the waterfalls along it, because you see, 5-6 waterfalls along it.
But says Portlanders should have no trouble.
We know how to get around that, unless you just don't look it up, but still it's pretty easy to access 84 from here to get out of it.
During this closure, cars headed east won't be able to access Multnomah Falls, with traffic being turned around at Wakena Falls. While we were here, some of the ways in had already been cut off, throwing off first-time visitors like Mina Wagner, who traveled all the way from Bend.
And they said, easy hike back. It turns out it's a 0.6-mile hike back, and it's up and down, and the trail is really rocky. And even if you hiked on the road, it'd be quite a trek for some people.
Cars headed west will be able to reach Multnomah Falls Lodge, but not go past that. People can always take public transportation or just park in the Interstate 84 lot right at exit 31. Tour guide Douglas Wright says the detour will be different, but not detrimental.
It's gonna be a little confusing for some people, but I think as long as everybody drives safe and slow on the roads and minds the crews that are directing traffic, then everybody will be just fine.
This closure will help restore the historic Columbia River Highway viaducts, which are a century old. Road resurfacing and structure reinforcement will be key focuses until the route is opened back up on Memorial Day next year, with Wright saying the closure timing aligns perfectly with the colder months.
We'll be bringing people out to see the ice waterfalls all winter, so hopefully people still come out and want to enjoy the the waterfalls, even when it's a little bit colder. We'll have to bundle up, but yeah, it's all going to be a good time.
Sydney Dorner, KGW News.
The campaign for the nation's next president brought second gentleman Doug Emhoff to the Rose City today. Emhoff, Vice President Kamala Harris's husband, delivered remarks at a campaign reception hosted by local political consultant Carol Butler. He didn't stay in town long. He had another reception to go to in California.